Wisp Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
Hello and welcome back to a new season of The Horse Show. I'm Chris Stafford, and it's great to be back after the break. And if you follow the show, you'll know that we had a pretty intense 2 weeks of coverage of the FEI World Equestrian Games back in September in Tryon, North Carolina, which was great fun. But now it's all about the new season, kicking off with the Winter Equestrian Festival and the Global Dressage Festival, which will be keeping the jumpers and the dressage riders busy in Florida. Plus, there's the World Cup qualifiers taking place around the world for those two disciplines, so it's a good time to get back in the tack here and follow the action. In the US, the majority of East Coast event riders start their competition season with the young horses again after the holidays in Ocala, Florida, and in Aiken, South Carolina. So there's a lot happening throughout the winter here in the Northern Hemisphere. But we won't forget our friends down under either as we catch up with those making the news. But we begin this season with American show jumper Lucy Davis, who made a name for herself with Barron, a horse of a lifetime who took it to the 2014 World Equestrian Games in France and then the 2016 Olympic Games in Rio, where she contributed to the team medals. And as well, the pair have been on Nations Cup teams and competed in 3 World Cup finals. And they also finished on the podium at the Washington International World Cup qualifier this fall. Lucinda won both a gold and silver medal at the North American Young Rider Championships at the start of her career, and then trained with German maestro Marcus Beerbaum for 6 years. And we'll hear how while she was at Stanford University, as well as riding and studying, she began to develop an app for riders, which has now become a very successful business tool and continues to grow. I caught up with Lucy while she was in her office. Thanks for joining us. Just tell us where you are right now, because you're not always in the barn, are you? You've got another business that you operate. Talk a little bit about where you are, and I want to unpack that a little bit further.
Yeah, I'm sitting in a WeWork office in Soho in New York City, the PonyApp headquarters for the time being. So I was at the Barron early this morning and now back in the city here.
Right, so you lead an interesting life now, but from your riding to being the business side of things with the app. And as I said, I do want to talk a little bit more about that, but we'll just leave that for now and come back to the horses, because I'm sure everybody wants to know how Barron is doing, your golden boy, the horse of the lifetime, isn't he?
Yes, he's actually doing well. I jumped him around a little bit this morning, and he's been a little bit off and on for the past almost 2 years now, but I'm happy to report that he is making a comeback, and so I hope he has a good 2019. That's what we're gearing up for.
All right, so you'll take him down to Wellington, will you, in 2019 and begin on circuit down there, will you?
Yes, that's the plan.
Yeah, do you look ahead beyond that with him, or just see how that goes with him and then think about the spring and summer season?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously got to take it day by day. He really owes me nothing, so I don't want to get too excited and push him too hard and push him past the point of where he's good again. So, but I also know that if he is in full fitness, he's still got a lot of energy and strength, I think, in him. So we'll just kind of see, I guess, the long and short of it.
Play it by ear. I'm always curious about that sort of partnership and how you complement one another, why it works for you. What is it about him?
He's very sensitive. He's very quirky, and I think that I've been able to spend a lot of time with him and get to know him and really know the kind of ins and outs of him. In terms of training, he fits very well into the system of Marcus Beerbaum, who I trained with for years. And so I think he kind of likes that program and style of riding, and just kind of clicked. I knew as soon as I sat on him that he was more special than any horse I'd ridden, and in terms of ability, and his personality started to come through as well. And I think it's a mix of all of that that really makes a good package.
Well, it certainly is a partnership that's grown together and put you really firmly on the world stage in the sport there, Lucy. But let's rewind a little bit for those that are not familiar with the background of how you got into the sport, how it all started for you out on the West Coast there. Because I think it was your grandfather on one side who was into racehorses. Did he train racehorses? He influenced you a little bit. How did that all spark the interest for you?
Yeah, correct. He actually didn't train racehorses. He was a jockey's agent, so he originally knew nothing about horses, and then proceeded to learn a lot. He didn't retire until he was about 75, and still, I guess he's kind of replaced the track with coming to see the jumpers now, but, he loves watching the horses work early in the morning, and has been a huge inspiration in my life. So he was the reason the family, I guess, got into horses, and my mom grew up around the racetrack, never really riding herself, but when she moved to California, was able to start taking some lessons, and then I grew up going to the barn and kind of started from there.
Well, where did the show jumping interest come? Was your mother mostly interested in show jumping?
She grew up kind of walking hots on the racetrack, and in between school and things like that, and she always loved horses, but wasn't really able to ride herself until she just kind of found a local stable local kind of community really in Los Angeles called Sullivan Canyon, and that's where I grew up riding as well, and just started taking lessons and kind of went from there.
And from there, obviously, when you say we just went from there, but I'm always curious as to, when you think of all the disciplines that you could pursue, why? Mm-hmm. At what point was it? Were there some role models? Were there some jumpers out there that you aspired to be? Who was it that really gripped that enthusiasm for show jumping for you?
Yeah, I don't really think I had a role model when I was younger, other than kind of the big kids around the barn. And that's for sure, we can talk about later with PonyApp, something that I hope to try and solve. There seems to be a big gap between the sort of local pony rider level, and top sport. All I knew was when I was little was that I hated doing flat work and I loved jumping. So that was dressage was unfortunately going to be out of the picture for me, and so that's kind of how I started gearing more towards hunters and jumpers, and then started in the pony ring, doing about 3 shows a year just locally in Los Angeles, and then becoming more and more obsessed, and over time stopped doing other sports and started focusing fully on the riding when I was about 15.
I can relate to that, becoming obsessed, but also the flat work. I remember once
yeah.
I said, I just want to jump. I just want to jump. And
yeah, it kind of came full circle when I started training with Marcus Beerbaum, because I then had to go to German flat work boot camp that was all about the dressage, and so I eventually had to learn to love it. But when I was a kid, I just wanted to get on pony after pony and jump around.
I know, it was the best fun, of course. But then, of course, you fast forward, you got horse. Where did you get your horses from and enable you to, really pursue it seriously? Because you were still in college then, of course, late teens.
Yes, I went to Stanford University in California and it was pretty much the perfect place to try and do school and riding because there's a barn on campus. So I could wake up, bike to the barn, ride 3 to 4 horses, and bike straight to class in my breeches. So it's I don't think I could have done it through school without the kind of support of the barn there and that program. So but I still was working with Marcus Beerbaum, and in the summers I would be in Germany, and I also did kind of prolonged my college experience to 5 years so that I could take some time off here and there to try and focus on certain competitions. And I really had a huge support network that was behind the scenes helping me while I was studying as well.
That was a college of convenience then, to have the barn on campus. Perfect.
It was, it's pretty perfect. We always say it's kind of like summer camp there. It's just the best place.
And then where did the horses come from then, Lucy? And why Marcus? Of course, it's an obvious question, but, of all the trainers and riders you could have gone to, what was it about Marcus that appealed to you? And how did you get your foot in the door?
Yeah, it was actually pretty serendipitous. I was training in California during high school and qualified for the North American Junior Young Rider Championships in Kentucky, and competed there and placed silver individually. And for some reason that year, Meredith, Marcus's wife, had been working with a trainer on the West Coast named Karen Healy, who she actually grew up riding with, to get slots into this. It was called the European Young Masters League final, which was in Frankfurt right before Christmas that year. This was 2009, I believe. And the trainers I was working with in California weren't able to go because it was so close to the holiday, and I qualified to go and wanted to, and Meredith happened to be pregnant at the time, so said that she and her husband Marcus could help me at the show. And so I went over, and that was really the first time I saw a European show, and completely opened my eyes to the fact that you could really, or I could really make a career out of this. And I worked with Marcus there and had a good experience. Actually ended up winning the championship, and figured it was a good program to be a part of, and came back that summer, and as of then basically started training with him for about 6-7 years.
Yeah, it was a great partnership, obviously tremendous benefit for you. But where did the horses come from along this journey then? How did you really get the leg up to get those international horses, Lucy?
The horses kind of came from all over. It just becomes harder and harder to find not just the horse that can do it to the highest level, but also that's a match. And I think Marcus had a huge hand in helping try and find the right match. And I've always liked to develop horses from a younger age. Even when I had ponies and hunters and equitation horses, we always tried to get them younger and be a nice little project. So Barron actually came from Canada, from a younger professional in Canada, and started working with him when he was 8. And I had a great horse before that, that it was actually one that had more experience than normal, which came from Nick Skelton, who was Nemo, that really taught me a lot about getting into the bigger classes. And it's a pretty inexact science to get it right, but I've been lucky to have some great horses along the way that have been competitive and geared me up for my goals.
Well, you certainly have had some great partnerships. I know Caraccio is one that has been particularly successful for you recently. I was in Washington when in the President's Cup, the World Cup qualifier, and he's been pretty consistent with you, this partnership. But tell us how you found Caraccio.
Yeah, he's kind of my pride and joy at the moment, because I spotted him when I was in Germany training with Marcus. We were at the show in Hamburg, and I was just watching the young horses class and sort of spotted him the first day. He's got a really flashy technique, and but he was the same each day, and as you said, super consistent. So I told Marcus that I'd seen this great horse, and it turned out that the breeder of Caraccio was kind of down the road from their place in Verden in Germany, and so we basically were able to acquire him at age 7, and I've been patiently waiting for him to hopefully blossom into a consistent Grand Prix jumper, which he has kind of exceeded expectations on this year and this fall. I'm incredibly excited about his future over the next couple of years.
Yeah, it certainly is a great partnership. Well done to you for bringing out that consistency in him. And let's talk about the other horses that you have now and the ones that you'll take to Wellington. How many are in your barn right now?
2, Caraccio and Barron. So 2 very good ones. But I actually, over the past year, since moving to New York, have really focused on kind of cleaning house a bit. I have a few mares that are breeding, which I'm excited about, and have sold a couple horses that were getting a bit older and trying to make way for a bit of a new generation, looking for kind of support from a new business investment ideas, and been training at Old Salem Farm out here. So bringing the 2 to Florida and kind of hoping to grow the string from there is the plan.
Right, and that will be in the new year, of course. In the meanwhile, as you said, you are in the office working on your business, which seems to have really...
Yes.
I'm curious because often what we do in college, what we study in college, doesn't always relate to the profession we choose or the interests or business interests. But you studied architecture. Why was it architecture, Lucy?
Yeah, architecture, which probably wasn't the best major for somebody that travels all the time to competition. It was a little hard to bring models on the road, but I really was drawn to architecture in a kind of very indirect way, but took a couple of art history and kind of drafting classes for fun, and stumbled upon the department, which balanced a lot of my interests both in design and sustainability, but also kind of math, science, art history. It seems very specific, but it ended up being pretty well-rounded. So, I definitely enjoyed my studies, but to be an architect, I think it would also be a little difficult to be a rider in at the same time. And I definitely had my goals within the sport. And while at school, actually, my senior spring, 2015, I kind of started this idea with a classmate, Lindsay Douglas, who also grew up in California riding with me. And sort of PonyApp was born there, and we've been working on it since.
But you guys got together and had this idea. How did this come about in terms of the whole concept of it, and why you thought this was something that fly? Because it's a bold move, isn't it? I mean, apps are all the thing, of course, but it's a bold move to take on a project like this, Lucy, especially when you get a list in school.
Well, it kind of, again, happened really organically. She was also riding at the barn a couple of days a week, and she was in the Stanford Design School in product design, and we'd go to the barn, and it seemed, in a way, a amazing bubble and kind of safe haven from the, crazy technology and just Silicon Valley tech bubble that we lived in every day, but also a part of us was kind of really hyper aware of the discrepancy, the fact that we could order food from any restaurant in town to our bed in 30 minutes, but, couldn't pay our farrier, through the phone, or, that's just one example that came to mind. And so we thought, okay, maybe we could figure out a way to streamline all of the management, the payments, and, better connect with, professionals, owners, and, keep track of our horses. And obviously, it wasn't a totally novel idea. There's a lot of people trying to kind of make the barn management process more digital and more efficient. And it started definitely in that vein. We did a lot of research, a lot of design, raised some capital to try and build the first product, which we did. And then over time, I've sort of adapted it more towards the barn management and kind of horse profile, rider, owner, trainer, professional user type, less so the bill payment. And now, as of this year, with a lot of engagement from younger audiences that read a lot of our news, that follow our social media, we've realized that, we kind of came in a little bit more from our own personal lens of working day to day with the horses and trying to ride and manage and do it all, and feeling like, those areas were underserved to really seeing arguably bigger gaps in the industry, which is, circling back to like what I said earlier when you asked me if I had idols when I was a little kid, and I didn't in the sport. I didn't know who, the top riders were, and I was obsessed with horses, obsessed with my horses, my horse friends, and all I wanted to do was ride. But, my idols were the big kids at the barn. And now with cell phones and social media being, a sixth finger to some of these kids, there's really opportunity to kind of bridge that gap. And we've gotten a lot of excitement from younger users in wanting to really keep track of their rides, of their, their horse care, and also learn more about it. So that's 3 years later, we've morphed from more of a professional barn management software to kind of like I said, a digital horse community, a kind of like LinkedIn for horses and people, where you can keep track of your horses, but also share things about your horses and learn about horse care, horse sports, and hopefully beyond.
And you're blogging too. You have a news element, a news component to all of this. There's so many dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you populate it then on a regular basis, and where do you generate the revenue for it?
So we originally partnered with the newsfeed, kind of aggregated horse blog, was sort of a last minute addition to the original product, but we felt like, we should, keep people up to date. It'd be a nice thing for users to happen upon when they open the app, just kind of scroll through the daily news. Great partners like World of Show Jumping that are already creating content, Horse and Hound, and events as well. And what we noticed is that the articles that had to do with, how to this, tips to that, that had a little bit more informational, educational bent to them were expanded exponentially more than so-and-so won the Grand Prix of wherever town in the middle of nowhere. So we started to generate a lot more of our own content that was definitely geared towards these educational elements, and are expanding that as we speak to hopefully launch a lot more in the new year. We're doing a series called PonyApp Pro Tips, and starting with basic horse care and training, and all sorts of kind of 101 information sessions, and really trying to connect with top professionals and top organizations that can help us build a information database as we build a horse database and connect the two for hopefully greater accessibility.
Well, it's a huge project, and it clearly has taken off for you. So I know how business is. You start with one concept and it evolves and becomes something.
Yeah.
Time. We've experienced that ourselves. And so a shift now into...
Like horses.
It's like horses, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you have a sense of now where this product could be in say, 5 years' time, and what you would like it to become now that it's got some legs?
Absolutely. I mean, our vision for it now is a lot more clear, as you said. And as we've seen in other businesses, and definitely in horses, what you start with it's a pretty good metaphor for a business, actually, or for a startup business. You start with what you hope has some potential and abilities, and then you kind of refine it and tweak it and see what it turns into. And I think personally, I've accepted that horses and horse sports are my passion, and my mission and Lindsay's mission and the mission for PonyApp is to overarching mission is to grow the sport and grow accessibility to horses, to information, and the status of riders and our events to as big as it can be. And so access to information is the first step, and we really want to be the largest global and cross-discipline horse database and horse network for, like I said, a little bit of a LinkedIn model. If you have a horse, or if you're a rider, you should be on PonyApp, because you can, have all of your, whether it's breeding information, results, day-to-day activities on there. You can have it aggregated into one spot, and hopefully things go from there.
Exactly, and you heard it from the horse's mouth. This is the one-stop app, really. Exactly. Has it made you more ambitious than in a business sense, Lucy, to do other things that now that you've seen how successful this one has been?
I think that's maybe putting the cart before the horse. We're still really, we're still consider ourselves a startup, and really want to see how far we can go with this. But I love, like I said with the horses, I've always loved working with young horses and building them up and seeing where they can be. It's incredibly rewarding. And it has been so with PonyApp. At a certain point, maybe comes to the point where I've taken it as far as it can go, and we try something new. But it's definitely a thrill, and you definitely learn a lot by doing. So we shall see.
We shall see. Of course, and you've gone from iOS. You are on both iOS and Android platforms, aren't you, with this? Yes,
and we have a web version as well, which is app.theponyApp.com. So a lot of, more professional type users, like a barn manager or trainer, sometimes like to handle it all on the computer, or you can kind of post a screen in your stable, things like that. So we've tried to cover our bases for everyone.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I think it's probably a generational thing, isn't it, Lucy? The computers for the certain other generation, and the app, of course, is where the younger generation will be, I imagine, using it the most.
Yeah, I mean, I think we really try to have something for everyone on there, and for example, our the horse profiles. You can basically manage your stable in a completely private setting, collaborate with your staff and your operation solely, or you can share absolutely everything you do, every activity, whatever, feed or supplement or exercise you're training. You can add photos, videos, share that, follow riders, horses, and in time, when I talk to a lot of top riders who are less excited about sharing everything they do, they kind of look at me funny. But in time, if we can get riders to communicate a bit more with audiences, it just attaches value to them and to the brands that they represent, and hopefully bring in new brands to support the sport. Because we've always struggled with broadcasting in this sport, and I think that now it's less so about TV and more so just about following and reach, and whether it's social media or a kind of niche platform like PonyApp within a certain industry, if you have followers, you have value. So that's part of our hope in growing following for people. We can grow the sport and attach value to these amazing athletes and horses.
Yeah, well, it's a great concept, and I think it's pretty amazing what you've done already, Lucy. So the very best of luck with it going forward. Who knows where?
Thank you.
It's very exciting.
It's been a long road, and we still got a lot of exciting things to share. So.
Yeah, and you said you've got 6 employees in the New York office now?
We do. We've got a couple engineers that are learning a lot about horses, and then we've got some writers on staff for our content, and are looking to grow our team. So taking applications for people that like horses and wanna keep working with them in a different but more professional context.
Well, that's a terrific opportunity. I hope whoever's listening might take you up on that.
Yeah, shameless plug.
Shameless, we don't mind at all, but well done you. And in the meanwhile, down to Florida, as you said, in the new year with these 2 horses and lots more prospects, hopefully, back at the barn that will be your partners of the future. So having done a World Championship now, World Equestrian Games and an Olympic Games and medals from both, do you have a bucket list of what's on your to-do list now in the ring?
Yeah, I've knock on wood, as step by step with Barron and Caraccio, but I'm really fortunate to have 2 healthy and exciting prospects for the next year. And my personal goal would be to be on the team for Tokyo. So that's what I'm working back towards and trying to fight every day for that.
Absolutely. Great goal there, Tokyo 2020. Well, again, the very best of luck, both with the app and with your riding career, Lucy, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on the program.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for listening.
Happy holidays from Wisp Sports.
And that's our show for today. Thanks for joining us here on this new season of The Horse Show on Wisp Sports. Remember to subscribe to Wisp Sports on your podcast app so you don't miss an episode. We've got lots of new shows coming in the new year that we'll be announcing here shortly. By following us on social media, that's the best way to keep up with what's happening. We're on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and of course on Facebook, where we also have our face-to-face shows where I talk to various athletes and coaches and women in the sport, various sports that is, across the world. That's also always great fun, so catch up with us there too, and you can comment on those, join in the conversation on those shows at our Facebook page. And I'll be back in the new year with another episode of The Horse Show. Until then, thank you for listening. Goodbye for now.